Hello, my name is Kelley Blas, and this is my interpersonal communication project through Liberty University. Next slide. This class has taught me many life lessons, not only on how I communicate currently, but what I need to do to improve my communication. And it's given me many tools that I can use, and I have started using with my family, friends, and coworkers. Also, the more I learn and listen, uh, the more I learn about listening, the more I want to practice better listening skills because it um, seems like from all the research that a good listener is a great communicator. So I'm excited about learning how to listen better. My overarching goal is to be the kind of person that people want to talk to, the one that they know that they're going to listen to without judgment. I have a friend at work. Her name is Jane, and she's just the kind of person that I know whenever I have a problem that she's listening to me, that she stops everything, puts everything down, faces me, looks me in the eye, and I just know that she's listening without judgment. And that's the kind of person I want to be. Enlarging the conversation means more than just speaking something and getting a response back. It's actual communication where there's feedback flowing both ways. It doesn't always have to be agreeing, but there's real communication happening there. Next slide. A behavioral blend is a blend of specific personality types that make up the personality of a person. This is based off the theories of Hippocrates and later adapted by William Marston. And it fits in the categories of D for dominance, I for influence, S for submissive, and C for compliant. Next slide. The disc graph that you're seeing here on the screen is the behavioral blend disc graph. So you see the D in the upper left quadrant and the I in the upper right quadrant. And then C is in the lower left and S is in the lower right. The top half, DI, represents an active personality, and the bottom half represents a passive personality. Higher DC, which is going to be on your left side, are more task-oriented, where higher IS are more people-oriented. Next slide. So my specific behavioral blend is IDS, and the strongest personality trait I have is I, and it's closely followed by D for dominance. I can see this in my interaction with others because I do tend to be more of an extrovert, especially in a crowd. I love to make people laugh, tell jokes, and I try really hard to influence others to do things that I think would be really good for them. If they're struggling or they need to change something in their lives, then I just try to share what I do, or I try to share what I know and what I've learned. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people are a little put off, and I don't like to drive a wedge between me and my friends. So I'm learning not to be so pushy or convincing, and just allow them to make their own decisions. If they ask me for advice or they ask me for information, I can share it without expecting them to follow through. Also, high I's have a basic motivation for recognition. And as much as I hate to admit it, I love praise. I love to be told, good job. I think we all do, but me to an extent that's probably not good. So I've been really praying about making sure that I'm humble and making sure that what I do reflects God, not me and my own strength, because He's the one that deserves the praise. Next slide. In the past couple of years, I've really worked on my dominant side. I used to be very aggressive and demanding that things go just the way that I wanted them to go. And I realize that this is very off-putting to others, especially those that I love. And it doesn't reflect God in me at all. So I've seen changes in my interpersonal relationships with my children and with my husband by allowing them to make their own decisions and just holding back on my aggressiveness and dominance. Um, Compassion. a little bit disappointed in my lack of compassion and my tendency to be too busy or too hurried. I do have 4 children. I work full time. Um, Lots and lots of things going on in my life, but I need to take the time to stop and listen and pay attention to whoever is in front of me at the time and not worry so much about all the other outside distractions. So that's also another thing that I'm working on. After studying my behavioral blend and reading about communicating, I've learned that no one person can completely control a communication event because no single action causes or can be blamed for a communication outcome. And what that means to me is that not every time somebody argues with me or we get in a fight or things aren't going well, um, it's not one person's fault unless they just shut down. And in that case, maybe it's best for both to just walk away. But this is an important lesson for me because my D personality trait tends to want to control the outcomes of most communication events. If things aren't going well, I'll try to apologize or try to make it better. I really want people to see my point of view, especially my husband. And I'll say, well, what if, are you looking at it this way? Do you hear me? Do you hear what I'm saying? And sometimes it's exhausting, and it's exhausting for the other person as well. So, I really need to listen and be open and be willing to just be quiet. And that's something I think that I'm learning. Next slide. Potential barriers to communication. For me, expectations of others. A lot of times I just expect people to hear me. I expect them to know what I'm thinking. Um, I expect them to accept me as I am. And it's important for me to show my softer side in my conversations with others and just accept that people are going to make assumptions about me based on my looks. And that's okay. And I just need to really show them my heart, be sincere, be open with them, and willing to communicate so that they can see the depth in the person that I am. I also really need to be an active listener. Giving advice is another potential barrier, and just allow people to speak and share and work through their own problems. Most of the time, the advice that I offer is not what ultimately helps them, but it's the passage of time, the grace of God, and the change in their perspective that generally brings a resolution. Um, Given the opportunity to solve their own problems, people tend to feel more confident about their abilities. And that's from Burley Allen, page 6. Negative perceptions is another potential barrier. And one of the things I'm guilty of is if somebody gives me a negative first impression, then sometimes I let that carry through in how I feel about them in future conversations. So I really need to look for positive perceptions of people because everybody has something good about them, and just listen to them. A lot of times, if I find out more about their family or what's going on in their lives, I tend to be way more compassionate and way more positive about them, even if they've had a negative first impression. Um, and number 4 is that sometimes I'm set in my way in my beliefs, and this can be a real barrier for communication, especially when it comes to politics, religion, um, just those outside entities that um, don't really affect the basic faith beliefs. If somebody believes in Jesus and loves Jesus, I know they're going to heaven. And sometimes I allow details to get in the way. And so I really have to watch for that when somebody else has a different perspective, and be willing and open to listen to them. Next slide. Another potential barrier is not repeating back exactly. And my husband and I have been practicing this since we read this in the Peterson text. And this technique is awesome because I've been guilty of listening to what my husband has to say, hearing what I want to hear, and telling him what he said, rather than listening to what he has to say and repeating it back exactly. Is this what you mean? And it has really opened up our eyes on how we treat each other and how we try to manipulate our conversations. And so that's been a wonderful solution to a potential barrier. Staying in your feelings. When people stay in their feelings and they just refuse to move past anger or hurt, um, that means that they're in their stomachs, according to Peterson. And think about the way we should think about the way that we feel. Why do we feel this way? Is my behavior justified? Does it matter if my behavior is justified, or should I just let it go? So alternating feelings and thoughts is really important. Another skill that Burley Allen taught is to resist external distractions. And this one can be tough for me. I have so much going on at all times, people in and out, devices, uh, all kinds of things. So my husband and I have agreed that we'll put our phones away. My children will put their phones away at dinner, and that we will engage in conversation and talk to each other. And I've really made a concerted effort at work. If somebody walks into my office, to stop typing, to turn towards them and just look at them and hear what they have to say. Because when I'm typing and they're talking, I know they're not feeling heard. So it's really important for me to continue that. Next slide. My plan of action is to just keep working towards all of the suggestions, tools that Peterson, Burley Allen, Stewart have taught me, and through this lesson and all of the um, presentations that I've heard. I just really, really, really want to be a better communicator. I want people to feel heard. I want people to feel loved. And most of all, I want people to see Jesus when they come and talk to me, and not leave feeling like they weren't heard. So I just plan on continuing to read through these texts, work through situations where communication is stunted, um, and just keep working on it. One of the exciting things that happened is my son came home from school the other day, and he was just not in a great mood. And I tried to talk to him and ask him what was going on. He had tried out for the baseball team, and he didn't make it, and he did not want to talk about it. So I let some time pass, and then at dinner that night, I shared with him a time when I had tried out for the drill team in high school, and I didn't make it, and it was very embarrassing. And I just shared it with him, and we all laughed. And then he opened up and was able to communicate with the family how he felt about not making the baseball team. And I've learned that through this class, and I'm so excited because the most important part of my life is my family and my kids, and it's really important for me to communicate well with them. So I'm excited. That's my plan of action. I thank you for this course, and I hope you have a great week.